All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Tat2d Preacher Podcast. This is episode number 66. Hope you are all doing awesome today. So this episode is going to be a bit of a rant. There's just some things I got to get off my chest, and I've been trying to process it, in my God time, and it's just it. There's few things that really get to me emotionally that evoke emotions of like anger and like frustration, but then also sadness and brokenness. And that has to do with people who have walked away from God, people who've walked away from Jesus. And so this is something that I every now and again on my social media, for example, on Instagram, where the algorithm will just start sending me so many videos from people who have deconstructed from Christianity. And I'm watching these videos and just listening to, man, it just seems like this regurgitated, typical critiques of Christianity. It's the same old stuff. Talking about how could a loving God send someone to hell? And so completely, going against the idea of hell and the problem of evil and suffering in the world. How could an all-loving God, an all-powerful God, allow this to happen, allow this to happen? And then they start bringing up science and start looking at, poking at apparent holes in stories in the Bible, the flood, creation, all this stuff. And it's like, for whatever reason, only this specific topic, it does, man. It gets under my skin, because I don't understand how somebody someone who's had a real, legitimate relationship with Jesus, and then come to the point where they're like, not that there is a God and I'm just done with him, but to the point where there is no God at all. He doesn't exist. Like, how do you get to that place to where you spend years? There's this one big, atheist on Instagram, and people will tag me in her stuff, and we'll go back and forth on certain videos, where she was a worship leader, heavily involved in the church. Spent, I think, something like 20-something years, believer in Jesus, involved in the church, working in the church. Now she spends all of her time, video after video after video, hundreds of videos, just railing against the existence of God. And it's just like, I don't, and the reason is that she just was on a journey and just came to this kind of self-discovery that, oh, he's just not real. That religion is just this man-made concept and idea used to control people, keep people in line, keep people believing certain things, keep people bound, and it's only now that she and as well as many others who walked away from God are now finally free. And I just listened to a lot of this stuff and just some of the just the utter just the like this is the part that makes me angry just when people start bashing God. It's just like that justice part of me rises up, and sometimes I can get carried away, and sometimes I don't act as loving, I guess, as I should. But I just I hate it. It's like the utter disregard for who God is striking, especially from people who claimed to believe, who walked with God, who experienced, to then all of a sudden turn and just be like, no, he's not real. And come at it with such vitriol and anger. Because and see, here's the thing too, it's like they try to come across as, oh, we're so happy and free. And they'll make these videos and they're smiling and just but it's like you just look at their eyes and there's so much anger there. And they try to hide it. And I've tried to call I mean, I've made the mistake. I try so hard to not comment on certain things and to not get involved in like social media comment section bickering because it's pointless. There's no fruit from it. You're not going to change anyone's opinions. You're not, but just I'll get caught up in certain videos and or I'll just call out like they're just angry. You can just tell their eyes, they're angry and they're just trying to hide behind this happy mask that I think they're putting on. Because deep down, like the Bible's clear, you know, only a fool says there is no God. And ultimately, if you want to live a life where God's not real, he doesn't exist, and there's nothing. So like your alternative is nothingness. To me, there's no more hopeless life than that. So you can't have pure joy. You can't. And so I'll call that out, and then it'll just. I mean, it doesn't solve anything. But I just all I see is just I see anger and I see hurt, and you see pain, and I try to ask questions like, hey, what happened? Clearly something happened. Like there has to be an action. Someone doesn't just give their life to God and then all of a sudden do a literal 180 and then go from God is real, I worship him, I serve him, to he doesn't exist. Something has to happen to push someone to that extreme. And so much of these videos that I see from these deconstructed atheists is that they just went on a journey of self-discovery. Nothing happened. They don't hate God. You can't hate someone that you don't believe in, but you did believe in them for years. So clearly, you don't just wake up one day and they're like, huh, well, there's a few questions that I have that I can't answer. So then, therefore, God doesn't exist. And I'm going to spend my life proving that he doesn't exist and, you know, attack Christianity, attack Christians in the process. Like you don't just switch like that. Something happens. And so like that's just it's the part where like that's the sad part. The sad part is church can be brutal. Like there's no such thing as a perfect church. And especially in recent days and months, all of these high profile pastors getting exposed for doing a whole bunch of nasty stuff. And you see all the polarizing mega churches and all the stuff surrounding that, and you you don't have to look very far to find a church or to see a church that is messed up and has hurt people. So like this idea of like I'm going to walk away from God because the church hurt me. Well, then everybody would walk away, because I guarantee every Christian on some level at some point has had an experience with the church that wasn't good. Like I grew up in the church my whole life. My dad was a pastor. My family members, uncles, grandparents, everyone was in the ministry. And I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. I've experienced the like horrific things in the church. So clearly, people who like something happened, and I hate. I shouldn't say hate. That's the sad part. The sad part is that people get so hurt by the church and then they walk away. I just wish that they were honest about it. Because at least if you're on, like, at least own it. Be like, you know what? I did believe in God, but I experienced all this stuff in the name of God. These pastors, these people, whatever, and it just turned me off. And now I want nothing to do with God. Like that's one thing to say, I want nothing to do with this God, because you have this skewed view now because of what may have happened, versus saying this God doesn't exist. He's not real. He's a fairy tale. That's the part, like that's what angers me. How can you go? I get the hurt part. I've experienced it. I've had my own issues with church. But the thing is, what is the church? The church is people. And people hurt people. Doesn't matter if you're Christian, doesn't matter if you're not. Atheists hurt people, Christians hurt people, every worldview, every religion, every ideology, people hurt people. Like that's a fundamental reality of the human condition. But to put that on God to the point where I'm going to walk away from my faith, and I'm not going to, and not only walk away, but then just be like, no, God's not even real. Like he just doesn't exist. And then spend so much time and energy just railing against the Christian worldview. You know, it's like these people, they don't go after Islam or Hinduism or the Buddhists. They go after the Christians. And in particular, the evangelical Christians. It's like, okay, there's something is going on. Something is going on. Something happened. I just wish they owned it. Own your story. Be honest. It's not just some journey of self-discovery. clearly something happened. Clearly for you to go from like God is real and I worship him and I serve him to he doesn't exist. In your perspective, something he must have done something or not done something to warrant that kind of a shift. And so yeah, I don't know. It's just it makes me it angers me, but it just makes me very sad. And it's just because it's like this is like what the Bible says over and over again. Read the New Testament. Like the journey of faith is hard. It's hard. The older that I get, the more I realize the journey of faith is hard. That's why Jesus said, like, there's the two roads. There's the narrow and the broad. And the I guess like the older you get, the more life you experience, the more you're the, the more you realize walking with the Lord, it's the narrow path. It's hard. And Jesus says few people will find it. That's why there's all those statements in the epistles, those who endured to the end, who are faithful to the end. Parables of Jesus where he says, when he comes back, will he find faith on the earth? So many people lose their faith. They for whatever reason, they lose it. Something happens to them. Church hurts them. People hurt them. Some kind of an event that invokes pain that's connected to God, and God doesn't show up or God doesn't do what they needed him to do or whatever. And then it's like, I'm just going to walk away from God. And not only walk away, but he doesn't exist anymore. I'm going to just completely, and it's hard. I don't know. I guess my encouragement, and as again, I'm just like verbally processing this right now. I had no plan. I got no notes. I got nothing, no outline. I guess it comes down to is the journey of faith is hard. It's a hard journey. Walking with God is hard. And I think that if you have this perspective of, well, if I come to God and everything is going to be easy and fine, and then you're going to be greatly mistaken. And you're going to set yourself up to fall. Because life's going to hit. And life hits from every angle. Life hits in ways that you don't even expect. And I guess, yeah, it's in those moments where you really see like how legit and how close you are to God when difficulty, when tragedy, when pain, when suffering, when whatever hits you. You really see how close you are with the Lord, how real that is. And I guess so many people, and especially recently, man, recent years, this whole deconstruction movement, so many people, they're walking away. They're walking away. They've let things that they've gone through, their experiences, the pain, the tragedy, the uncertainty, whatever, rip out like the faith that they had. And it's sad. It's sad. Like I wish like to be like I just wish I could sit down and talk like face to face. Um because it's just like like Jesus is still there. Like he still loves you. Like he's still good in the mystery of life and the ups and downs of life. Like God is constant and faithful, and it's like Peter, man. In John chapter 6, Jesus preaches this sermon, offends hundreds of people to the point where they all start walking away from him. They all are just like, I'm out. I'm done. This Jesus, what you're saying, man, this is too hard to hear. And so they all start walking away. And then all of a sudden Jesus is left with the 12 and he's like, are you guys going too? And Peter, he doesn't give this massive reassuring answer like, oh, Jesus, no, we know, you're amazing. And, we'll trust you to the end. And that, no, he says like, where else are we going to go? Yeah, what you said was hard and I don't know how to process it. I don't know how to take it. But we know who you are and where else are we going to go? And I think that's the key. It's like no matter what happens in life, like look at all of the Christians all over the world. Like we're in the West, man. I live in the West, Canada, North America. Like, man, I have no idea what difficulty really is in terms of persecution, in terms of like pain and walking with God. Yeah, people like I've gone through some massive things, painful things, hurtful things. I get that part. But when it comes to like having like being persecuted for your faith and having your walk with God, questioned and tested, we have no idea what that's like over here. And it's yet the church in those areas, it grows. Like you look at the underground church in Asia and you look at the growing movement of believers in like the Muslim world. Like how is it growing in the most hostile environments? It's because like they know, like when you know, like where else, like Peter, where else are we going to go? But here people don't, they get faced with something and they don't come to that realization. They leave. And they leave and they're angry and then they spend their life like hiding behind this happy, free facade when inside, deep down, like they're dead and they're dying. You can't have hope. Like no matter, I don't care what they say, you can't. Because once you've tasted real hope, you can't walk away from it and then pretend like, oh, now I have the real, like when you've tasted real hope, nothing else will be able to fill that. And you can try to convince yourself that it's there. But like true hope is only found in Jesus. And it's just like, nah. Yeah, I don't know. This is just, to be honest, just like stirring within me and I don't know how to land. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm still figuring out where to emotionally land with myself. And so, thanks so much for listening. Those of you who actually made it this far. Um, yeah. Let me know though. Let me know down below what your thoughts are, how you handle this kind of stuff. I posted, or in a lot of those comments that I'll leave, it'll end up stirring up a lot of conversation in their comment section on their videos. And then all of a sudden, there'll be a lot of Christians joining in the conversation. And so, it's good to see that a lot of people have perspectives, and a lot of Christians are rallying together to encourage each other. And, but yeah, I would love to know your thoughts just on this subject. Like, how can someone walk away from Jesus? What do you think contributes to that? Maybe someone in your life, maybe you yourself, that's your testimony. Maybe you walked away from Jesus and have come back. Like, I would love to know. Yeah. So thanks again for listening or watching to my rant. And we will see you all in the next episode. Much love and God bless.